Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Next Steps podcast. You might be asking yourself, hey, self, did I just listen to this past Sunday sermon before listening to this podcast? If you answered yes, well, this is a good podcast to listen to. If you answered no, click the pause button right now, head back, and listen to the last Sunday sermon, because this podcast will actually make way more sense if you do that in that order. But the real reason why we're here with the podcast is that we're asking ourselves, okay, so I heard the sermon, now what? How do we apply it? Today I have awesome Pastor Andy Vomsteeg here, everybody.
Hey, hello, good morning. A Monday
Monday
morning.
morning.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Did you get your coffee?
I did Diet Coke this morning.
Diet
I know,
Coke?
for breakfast. Disgusting. I'm a garbage person. It's all
I
right.
don't know. I think
No?
that's all right.
It's
It's
all right?
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Diet Coke has enough caffeine in there too.
It totally does. I just, for some reason, I wanted a Diet Coke. So, case of
Works.
Mondays, I guess.
It works.
All right, so this podcast, what we do is we deep dive into the past sermon. I get to tell Andy everything he did wrong. I'm totally kidding.
Which is a lot. No.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's either you or my wife Kelly.
Well,
so
there
I
you
could
go.
catch it on both sides.
There you go. You probably get that on Sunday night.
I
and then
do.
you're ready for this.
Oh, perfect.
No, we just go into some more questions, ask the maybe the thought process behind certain things, and then if Andy missed, I don't know, if you wanted to say something more, that's what this podcast is really about. So in the next 15 and 20 minutes, hopefully you get something out of this. We really love getting questions from you who are listening. If you ever want to send in a question about a sermon or a past sermon or just something you want to hear from Andy or even myself or someone else on staff, we'd love to answer those questions too. So, okay, let's go into it. We are in week 3 of our Reboot series. Can you tell everybody what Reboot is about?
Yeah, reconnecting with God. I mean, what better place to start our new year by having a exciting, wonderful, fresh relationship with God where
Yep.
God is real in our lives. I think we can often, like working out or doing anything, we can get a little tired or not feel connected to God. And so, hey, let's make a commitment to do that
Yeah.
and recharge, reboot our relationship with God.
Absolutely. In that recharge or that reboot, you opened your sermon with talking about our Baja build.
I
where We
did.
take a group of people down to Baja. We built some homes, changed some lives in a matter of 36 hours. Just a little, I don't know, a little insider information about Andy is what he shared before is that whenever he feels a little confused or down, he needs to go to a different country. Is that true?
Ooh, yeah, that is
Yeah?
true.
Okay.
Getting vulnerable here, but
Okay.
I always had the itch forever and ever and ever. And when we were living in Santa Rosa, we were there for 21 years. I would say every 3 years I got the itch. It's time to go, time to leave. I got to move on. What's next? I don't know. I don't know if it's personality type or whatever, but I have great counselor. Her name is Denise Hirschlein, everybody. And hey, Denise. She just really listened to my story and went through and went back a lot of my missionary kid experience and transitioning as a missionary kid to the United States, so on. And our family, my dad and mom, United Methodist pastors for 45 years. We moved every 3 years. So that was just ingrained in me. And she just said, I wonder, you have an itch. You're a missionary kid. You're always going to have a bit of a what's next, I think. And I love culture. So she said, why don't you take an international trip? You probably need 1 to 2 international trips a year.
All right.
And that will probably scratch that itch, being in another culture, reminding you of, just a wonderful time in your life as being a missionary kid. And you know what? She was right. I don't need to uproot my entire family because I have this little itch. And I think we all have an itch somewhere.
Totally.
But yeah, I love it, and I feel at home when I'm there and in another country, but I'm also glad to get back too.
Totally.
Yeah, you're like, this was great, but I love a hot shower.
Everybody loves a hot shower.
Yeah.
All right. So Baja Build, did it scratch that itch?
It did, without a
did.
doubt.
Awesome.
We had 33 people, and a great group of people, but a couple of itches. You really get to know other people.
Yes.
Connect, become friends. You're doing ministry alongside people like no other time. In 2 days, you're hanging out with people that you see on the weekends a little bit and get to know a little, for a little while. But when you spend 48 hours with a group of people building a house next shoulder to shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, it really scratches the itch of relationship, also scratches the itch of I'm not happy about something in America.
Mm-hmm.
In 48 hours, you're like, I love America. I love my home. I love where I live.
You're wearing
The
your flag
second you
shirt.
cross over that border
Totally.
at
Every
Orange
single
County
time.
and palm trees, it's clean.
It's-
You're like, oh, this is nice. You go to In-N-Out Burger, you're like, all right, this is great.
I
you
know. Yes.
And then the itch for me, just personally, just being in another country, that's my own personal
Mm-hmm.
thing, but it really does. But being in another country, a third world country, it does make you appreciate all your blessings.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been able to go on that trip, I think about 8 times now or so. And every single time came back just changed. Like you kind of go down into a mission trip going, I'm going to go change lives. But really what happens is that it's a both and.
That's
Like
right.
your life has changed, other people's lives are changed. And it's just this win for the church and just for everybody involved. So, hey, if you want to get involved, serving at a Baja Build, we want to get you that information for the next one because we do 2 of those trips every single year.
I think it's going to be in the fall. We don't have a date set, but let us know that you're interested so you can plan, and also we can plan 1 or 2 houses or how many people are coming.
Yeah.
So let us know. But I think sometime in the fall.
Perfect. All right. Send your info to info@malibupacific.church, and we'd love to get you some more information. All right. So this week's reboot had a theme to it, and I believe it was follow. Is that correct?
Yeah, the whole thing is really follow. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well,
But-
I listened, so there we go. Okay, I heard it, which was great because you showed this awesome picture of our Instagram page up on the screen. And it was just a great reminder, and might not even, like, if you're listening to the podcast, you know what Instagram is, you know an Instagram account. Basically what you do is you find your friends, and the verbiage is following them. So use that to connect it to all the different age groups and things like that. But it really reminded us, like, what do we follow, or what do you follow? So Andy, I want to ask, what are some things you follow in this world?
Well, I really, honestly, and you're going to say, oh, you're going to say the Christian churchy Sunday school answer, but Jesus,
There you go.
following Jesus.
Yeah.
It's really has been a focus and primary in my life since I became a Christian at 8 years old on the edge of the bed, and my dad led me and my brother to Jesus, and
That's awesome.
I've been following Jesus ever since, and it's been the greatest adventure and journey ever. Who you follow will determine where you go, I think. So be careful who you follow. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
My dad has been a great person that I have followed and how he did ministry, just an incredible pastor and teacher. But others that were very influential in my life and early on after graduating seminary and tried to turn a church around, it wasn't working. And I was young, and I was 26, 27, 28 years old. I came down to Saddleback Church, whatever the timing was, and went to one of the first purpose-driven church conferences. Rick Warren had just written the Purpose-Driven Church. And I read through that and went to the conference, and it blew me away because a lot of it was very different from what I had learned in seminary.
Oh.
Seminary was you need to be the expert and you need to do everything. And when Rick Warren talked about the priesthood of all believers in small groups, and this is a Baptist guy talking, small groups, but he really, staff do the administration, the people do the ministry. I mean, I'll never forget those chapters. Because it just was so different from what I learned. I really loved my seminary education and church history and philosophy and Christian education, how to read the Bible and learn how to read it in Greek. But as far as the practicality of today, he was very helpful. And I was following Rick Warren for years and years. Another one was Bill Hybels up in Willow Creek for years and years of creating a church for unchurched people, outsiders. And his whole model, really a contemporary church. And for me, it made sense as a missionary because he's just trying to create common ground with society, with people. in order to communicate the gospel. But what he was doing early on was revolutionary, meeting in a theater and so on. Andy Stanley, without a doubt, I think one of the best leaders, communicators, but also what I've really leaned into North Point and Andy Stanley is having a strategy in a church. Never learned any of that. I learned in seminary and very Methodist and maybe others, Presbyterians, to have a committee. And the committees are what do it, or have programs. So this is going way back now, but having program for everything, but nothing was connected and everybody was doing their own thing.
Yep.
And I wasn't seeing a lot of life change. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with karate on Tuesday night, and then you do a verse and pray, but that's fine. It's great. But it just wasn't strategic in helping people grow in their faith, make disciples. And a couple of conferences I went to just really clarified, disciples are made. It's intention. Go and make disciples, really emphasizing on that word. Versus I hope it happens. So I really leaned into that model, but it's not really a model. It's actually stripping away the program church and doing Matthew 22. How do we help people learn to love God, love each other, and Matthew 28, go into all the world and make disciples. Be friends with unchurched and invite them. That's the model, which I don't think it's really a model. It's just what Jesus did.
It's biblical.
Just biblical told us what to do. So we stripped away. I just, love committees or this or that, and it helps get teams ready, but let's just get it back to the basics of what Jesus did. We have added a lot of stuff in the church that really I don't think was helpful, but just made things complicated, and we create a bureaucracy.
Totally agree.
And the church is a movement. People should be moving. There should be flexibility. So we're going somewhere. We're on a journey together. And the life with Jesus is a great adventure, and it doesn't always, there's not a system to it.
Totally. It's like there's a great need in our city, and it's like, well, you know what? Let's form a committee and then see if that passes. It'll take 9 to 12 months. And then by the time actually something happens, that need is already gone. Or there's a different need. We need to be able to be mobile pretty fast. And that's what I love what we're doing here when we're saying a church for everybody in every story, is that we are able to not just say like, hey, the staff does the ministry. It's like, no. We're here to equip everybody here.
That's the biblical model.
Everybody here to do ministry.
That's right.
It doesn't just happen Sunday at 10. It happens at your job, in your office, on the golf course, at the beach, at hiking. Ministry happens 24/7.
That's right.
And so it's just really exciting that it's no longer like, well, the youth need this, so Shannon will take care of that. It's like, no. We need you to come and hang out with the youth.
That's right.
Well, Kelly is the children's pastor, so she... No. We need you to come read a story to them. Like you're being equipped to go do ministry everywhere. So
that's right.
It's very exciting.
So I don't know if I answered the question of following, but those are some people that were very influential, 4 people that were very influential with Jesus here on this earth to help me learn to follow. I'll give you just one more, and I've mentioned this, is John Maxwell was extremely influential, who's a leadership guy, 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So I got that training early, had a chance to meet him a couple times, go to some practicums. I've had a chance to be in the room with some incredible people over the years. Cool. That now that I look back on, how did I end up in that room with those guys? And,
I felt the same way.
Yeah. So John Maxwell was just the everything rises and falls on leadership. Show me how many leaders you have in your organization. I'll show you how big your church is, how big your business is. So how are you developing leaders? And boy, that again, in seminary, you're the leader, you're the only one, and everything rises and falls on you versus... No, my job is to equip the leaders and release the leaders and develop leaders, because the more leaders you have, the bigger, more you can grow and the more impact you can have. So he influenced me tremendously early on with Rick Warren, I would say. He was the first one talking about leadership. And so it was just really, really helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. Doug Fields did the Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry that came out a couple
Yeah.
years after that, and it's the same thing. It's just a mashup of Purpose-Driven Life and Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry, and it totally changed my whole thought process and all my schooling, all this stuff I did, and it challenged it because it really asked the right questions. And so I want to ask who's ever listening right now, what are you following?
That's a good question.
Following?
Who are you following?
Who are you following?
Yeah.
Are they asking the right questions? Do you need some guidance in who to follow? If you want to have a conversation about that or grab a coffee or something like that too, we would love to do that, and point you in some good directions too. Okay, so you said something, I believe it was believe then follow. No, I'm just kidding. You said follow then believe, but we've had it kind of backwards.
I think in the church we have. Yeah.
Just believe in Jesus.
Just believe.
You just don't believe.
Yeah.
You just don't
What's
believe.
wrong with you?
Yeah, come on. Oh, hi, I'm Joel, by the way.
Yeah. You can't. It's not fair to people or any of us. None of us did that. None of us started following something that we didn't like or hear about or wanted to know more about.
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing with following on Instagram. We get to sort of know from a distance the people, and we start following. Mm-hmm. And out of following is where we then, they are who they say they are. It is true. Or we get to know each other. When we know each other more or better or deeper, then I believe in you now versus I believe that I know who you are from a distance, following you, listening, but now I can actually believe in. But yeah, the church has had it backwards for a long, long time. Preach, you got to believe, you got to believe.
Mm-hmm. You just don't believe.
So then there's something wrong with me. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I just still have questions, or I want to try it out, or that's why I think we need to do a series, Try Before You Buy, because just check it out.
Yeah.
Before we bought a car a couple years ago, they said, take it home for a day. Mm-hmm. I was like, serious? Yeah, take it, drive it, check it out, see if you like it.
I would have just said, you don't believe in this car?
You don't believe in this car? Yeah,
But this car is right. Like, you don't believe in it. Are you questioning me?
You don't believe how good this car is?
Come on.
Get out of here. That's what we do. Yeah. Even a car salesman knows more about the gospel and how Jesus did it than we in the church. Yeah. I think I may need to say this next week. Ooh. So we're coming up with a sermon now.
There we go. I love it.
But isn't that amazing? Yeah. Everywhere else, try it. See, check it out and see if you like it. And we'll send you a sample. Yeah. So in the church, we've not been fair to people and the questions and the doubts that they would have, which the disciples all had. So Jesus had 3 years and they struggled. They had doubts. They weren't sure if he was who he was. Even Peter at the very end is denying Jesus.
Yep.
So he didn't believe he was the Son of God at that point. A 7th grade girl is like, aren't you one of his followers? No, I'm not. And he's denying Jesus. I mean, here's this grown man.
Yeah. Saw the miracles, walked with him, all the things, and still was like, no, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think it's really important for us as we reboot our faith that there are areas that we're not sure about. It's okay to doubt. It's okay to ask questions, but keep following.
Absolutely. That's what that faith walk is, and I love that this is a safe place to do that. You then went into a right standing with God, and there was like a moment of it wasn't tension, but you could cut like
it didn't get quiet. What was the problem?
It was when you were talking about
I thought they were falling asleep.
No matter no, they were falling asleep. It was just one of those oh boy, like ooh kind of moments when you're like, even if you're an atheist, you're a believer, whatever, you're gonna ask yourself at some point in your life, am I right with God or a higher power?
Whoever's out there.
Who's ever out there, right? You're like, and I know when you're going to. And you just looked at everybody, and people were like...
Somebody actually responded, I think. Yeah, I don't know if you heard.
I didn't hear, but you just felt, and I like looked around, and people were like, we're all gonna die, like someday. And it was this like, really like, I think a great moment in a lot of ways.
I didn't mean to be morbid. It's
no. Yeah. But you kind of smiled, which is kind of funny too. You're like, I know when you're going to.
Yeah. I've been there. As a pastor, I've been in a hospital. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. boy, you walk in, the family's crying. I've been there. Oh my goodness, how many times? And all the tubes, and you're in ICU, and they're not sure if you're going to make it. I don't know how many times. Boy, I'm praying, and just a little thing also, if anybody goes to the hospital in that situation, they've taught us actually in seminary, they can hear you pray, and they can make that decision for Christ in that moment. But yeah, even though they can't respond, or eyes are closed, or in some kind of a coma, their mind is still there. Yeah, so boy, I pray like crazy and lay hands on them and say, hey, it's never too late. And yeah, you could just simply put your faith or believe in who Jesus is. But yeah, there is that moment. It's going to happen to all of us. Our time is short on this earth. Yeah.
Francis Chan had this awesome quote. He had one of his now, like, I don't know, one of the person he discipled and the person that he apprenticed him, kind of a deal. Complete atheist, did not believe in like anything. And Francis was like, no, come work at the church. Like, just, and he was like, I would absolutely not do that. And he looked him like just straight in the eyes, like, if you don't believe in anything and you're about to die, wouldn't you like to not get it wrong? Like, so no matter what, you believe that at the end of your life, if there's nothing, right, you're just done, that's it. What if, though, you were wrong?
Yeah.
So you already believe there's nothing, but what if? And that question spurred on in his mind going, well, if I could just follow.
Yeah.
I'll try this church thing out. I'll work at this church. And pretty soon he started having that life change happen. And through that became a like full-on atheist to now a full-on believer.
Yeah.
Because the question was put out there. If you think there's going to be nothing at the end, wouldn't you hate to get that wrong?
You don't want to miss that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so...
and if you follow, what do you lose?
Exactly.
I mean, what do you lose in this life? What are you losing, really?
Serious. Yes.
So too much of a risk there. Yeah.
I know,
No,
exactly.
So what if you're wrong?
What if you're wrong? Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
but we all want to be justified. We all want to know if we have a right standing with God at the end of the day. We do.
We do. And you mentioned that it's free. Like, it's not a subscription. It's not a...
No bartering, can't buy it. Yeah.
It's just there. But it just takes a step. So we're going to be closing up here pretty soon, but what would be a good step, like a next step for somebody who's listening to this, that's having maybe some hard times following, and the believing part isn't even there yet?
Yeah.
Or maybe someone who is following, but the believing part is there, but that's also a challenge. Like,
yeah.
What would be a good next step?
I would just say, just like going to the gym, make your Sunday mornings really either online and watching the service or coming to church. I would not say, oh, just come to church, just come to church. But I really believe that we have something really special here that for your kids and for you, that we will be talking about one thing for you to apply every single week. And by the end of the next 52 weeks of this year, you will have 52 principles underneath your belt that you're applying that's going to help change your life. So if anything, something happens when you gather with a group of people who are happy, they enjoy being there, and we're here for you, and you're singing some songs and getting a coffee and a donut. There's just like, hey, there's hope. And hopefully we Christians have, I'm going to talk a little bit about this coming weekend, but just some joy or something that's distinctive about us.
Totally.
Hopefully, as we're obeying is next, as we're applying God's principles, that our lives are a little different than others. And when people see us, they're like, we are a light or a salt to the earth. That people go, what do they have that I don't? What is that distinctiveness that we've applied? So when you're hanging out with a group of people, exactly what we were talking about earlier, that are happy, enjoying themselves, I'm just saying, you may not even believe everything, but they're singing with some joy and an encouraging word, and you're hanging out with some happy, joyful people. Totally. It will rub off on you. So
I'm
Yeah.
with you. I was hanging out with a friend yesterday, and she doesn't come to the church, but she has watched our online stuff here and there, or has. I showed her like our Christmas Eve service from a couple years ago, and she was like, "That's so creative, so fun." Anyways, she really cool. Does rocker T-shirts. Has a really cool like really thriving company kind of a deal, and she's really into like '80s bands and things like that. And she asked me yesterday, she's like, "So how was church today?" And I was like, "You know what? It was really good. Like we play some songs now that you would probably love, and I mentioned that you're not your mistakes." And then it clicked in my mind. I was like, "Oh, in about like 2 months or so, we're starting a prayer series." So spoiler alert, we're going to be doing a sermon series on prayer. And I just was like, "You know what? We should probably play during that time." Bon Jovi's "Living on a
Oh,
Prayer."
living on a prayer. Yeah,
And she
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "You play that, you'll see me there." And I'm like,
That's great.
right? And I'm like, oh, it somehow you are the salt of the earth,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
you can use all these different tools and resources, but Christ won't change. Like that's the cool thing about all of this. So anyway,
Well, and then the
Yeah.
second step I would just simply say is we're doing a starting point lunch coming up. And so for any of those of you who are new to church, there you have a starting point in your faith.
Yeah.
We want to help you take your next step.
Yep.
My best illustration with that is what Apple does when you go to the Apple store and you show up at the front door. There's a person with an iPad and they ask you, what do you want? They direct me to the best place where somebody's going to come and help me who's been trained in that area.
Yep.
We want to do the same thing at the church. Everybody's journey is a little different. We want to find out how to help you, what your next step is for your spiritual journey. So Starting Point is a great place. I think that's happening this coming Sunday. But if not, be listening. Just even Starting Point then is a kind of a class that we do for 5 weeks. That's a great starting point of faith and a conversation about who God is and faith. So I would encourage you to go there. And then another one, I would just start serving.
That is
know,
key. Yeah. Absolutely.
You can do some coffee or greet somebody or say, how can I help in the children or student ministries, or what do you need? And you just, it doesn't even have to be long. You don't have to have the Bible memorized, but you can come a few minutes early and help John Eyes in the kitchen. And just something happens in you when you start serving. When I was pastoring in Santa Rosa, we had a lot of guys. We had like 2 busloads of the AA guys coming from the Redwood Gospel Mission. So they were in a recovery house. And we had quite a few people come. And they were there early. They helped us set up. We did a ton of setup outdoors. And of course, it's California and great weather. Anyway, then they were done. I was like, hey, can you guys help hand out, at the time we're handing out some bulletins? And they're like, what? And then after a few weeks, one of the guys came up to me and says, that's the greatest thing I've ever done. I was like, what? What was that? Well, just saying hi to people and handing out bulletins. My entire life has been about me.
Oh.
And this is the first time I'm serving somebody else, even just by giving them a bulletin. It's changing me. And I thought, just serving at the door for 10 minutes is changing somebody's life? So just start serving somewhere.
That's awesome.
God will reveal himself to you. It will reboot your faith.
I love that you said it's not about me. Like that's just what that guy was saying. And to bring it full circle with purpose-driven life, the first words in purpose-driven life.
It's not about you.
That's how the book
It's
opens.
not first sentence.
Not
About you. Yeah.
So check out that purpose-driven life. I think it's the 60th anniversary. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's 20th anniversary. Great stuff, though. Great wisdom to be had. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here for the Next Steps podcast. These come out every Monday. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or hand gestures, please send those to info@malibupacific.church. Love to answer any of those questions about past sermons or future sermon series, or questions about faith, about God, about the church. That's what we're here for. We want to take a little deep dive into hearing a sermon and then applying it throughout the week. Because church just isn't 1 hour, it's every day. So again, if you want to find a small group, you want more information about Starting Point, head on over to malibupacific.church and find your next step there. Again, thank you so much for listening today, and I hope you have a great week, everybody. See ya.